Hi, this is Roger back in Finland, and today we are comparing the DJI Osmo Action, which is all the way there, with the DJI Action 2, which is right here. And for the impression ones, if you wanted to have more physical buttons, if you wanted to be waterproof while using the SD card, if you wanted to have interchangeable battery and interchangeable lens cover, then do go with the Osmo Action. So you want to have the option of a tiny standalone camera, you want to have a front screen that you can operate, you want to have the most possible minimalistic chest mount there is, and do you want to have horizon balancing in 4K? In that case, get the Action 2. And now that I'm back in Finland after 2 weeks of holidays with the family, I have been using both of them, and I thought it would be a good moment to compare them after actually using them. First of all, let me say that I'm really not into extreme action sports, so collecting my luggage from the airport and jumping down a water slide is the most action things that I will be ever doing. So it begs the question, why action cams? They are so practical, they are so small, they are waterproof on their own without any housing or casing. So to do small funny things with the family, they're excellent. And you can put them in your pocket. So they're super practical, and for me that I'm scared of people and doing this in public, this is the form factor that actually allows me to do it. And if you want me to tell you which one is the best, I'm afraid I cannot do that. Both are very different with their own set of strengths and weaknesses or features, and some of those things will be a deal breaker for you. Some of those things are exactly what you're looking for. So I'm just going to try to tell you what makes them different, so you can choose. The Osmo Action is the older of the two, and the one that I had the longest as well. It has more traditional, let's call it GoPro style of an action cam. It shoots up to 60 frames per second in 4K, up to 240 frames per second in Full HD if you are into slow motion type of things. And really, at this form factor, it does everything I need to. I'm gonna get in a moment on why I got the Action 2, but mostly it's not as a substitute of this one, but to something completely different. And one of the main differences is the body style. So the Osmo Action is a more traditional action camera, as I said. It's very similar to the GoPro 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. It's bigger than the Action 2. It does have more buttons. I like that it has a quick switch button to switch from the front screen to the back or to the different modes, while the Action 2 has only one button. Then the SD card, the micro SD, just goes into the camera itself, and with the SD card in, it's totally waterproof without any extra housing, and the batteries are interchangeable and pretty cheap. You can find them, the original ones, for 30 euros or something like that. When it comes to mounting, well, think of it as a traditional action camera. So you will need to use the cage with a two-prong thingy from GoPro, and then you can mount them in many places. There's plenty of accessories. That's one good thing. GoPros have been on the market for so long, and there's so many different accessories and suction cups and chest mounts and goosenecks and I don't know what else. But these cameras can be mounted pretty much everywhere with the cage that comes with the camera itself. But with that said, I'm not actually a big fan of those two-prong thing, because these cameras are so tiny that that's how I like them. But when you add that two-prong thing and maybe a ball head under it to mount it on a selfie stick or tripod or something, suddenly they become much bigger, and that's something I'm not a fan of, and that's why I'm usually then hand holding it, which is what I'm doing right now. I think, well, the field of view is definitely wide enough. We've been saying that the ZV-1 is okay enough, which means that this is definitely wide enough. But as you can see, like, holding this is kind of awkward, and I don't like it. My fingers are in a kind of a strange position, and I have to be really careful to not touch the microphones. And now I certainly look super silly because I'm trying to hold the Osmo Action in the same place and the lanyard is, just to show you that hand holding the Action 2 is much more comfortable. And still talking about the build, while the Action 2 is beautiful, the Osmo Action feels really racked, and I'm very comfortable, and I feel very safe using it in any kind of conditions. Again, I don't do really extreme stuff, but I've used it in the snow, I've used it in the swimming pools, now in the forest. If it falls, I'll pick it up after I have swapped a few mosquitoes. But the proof that it really like this camera is that since I got it, I've been enjoying very much using it, and I'm not considering at all selling it. And of course, a massive build difference are the screens. The Osmo Action has a much bigger back screen and a smaller front screen. And to me, what makes the big difference between the two is that the front screen of the Osmo Action can be only used for monitoring and framing, as I'm doing right now. But what I like from the Action 2 is that the front screen can be used to operate the camera. So if I'm happy now with the Osmo Action, why the Action 2? Precisely because of the differences mostly on construction, form factor and mounting options. I like very much the option of having that really tiny thing in there, but as I was saying, I don't like the two-prong thing. And the Action 2, it has a magnetic connection with two latches, and that basically covers the whole system of mounting. So you can attach the front screen that I'm monitoring myself right now in that mode, but that's also the way that you attach the main body or the front screen into the vlogging tripod or into the ball head or into the two-prong thing if you want, because you can still use those. But I find the system much faster to move, much easier to operate, and especially much smaller and low profile. And my favorite accessory is the lanyard, which is the kind of low profile chest mount. If you want to have the Osmo Action on a chest mount, you will need some sort of chest harness with the mount here, and you're going to attach the two-prong thingy somewhere here. But with this one, it's just a magnetic thing. You can put this small lanyard under your chest and then mount it like this. And that's it. It doesn't quite move and it stays. Now it's attached with a magnet on the top screen, but of course you can make it even more minimal, dismantle these two things and just mount the camera body itself. If you do this and you're scared of people and people's reactions in general and people noticing anything, you can disable the LEDs in the front of the camera, so when the camera is recording it doesn't show anything. Otherwise the camera has a green LED and then a red one when it's recording. Please don't be creepy and don't do any nasty things. It's just a way of being more comfortable in normal situations. Like right now, I'm just here walking in the forest. I'm gonna meet one person every 35 minutes or so, and they will feel okay if they don't see the red light. Yes, we are a little bit socially awkward, what can I tell you? And of course that lanyard does not substitute a proper chest mount that you might want to use when you're doing actual extreme things like skydiving or canoeing or whatever extreme sports are. We have established that I do not know. But for doing simple things like a walk in the forest or filming yourself where you're doing something with your hands, I can see this as being a really useful tool for DIY type of videos. It's as minimal as it gets. And for this type of vlogging, I prefer the Action 2 than the Osmo Action. It's easier to hold. I'm not using it right now, the selfie stick tripod thingy. As I said, a bit easier to hold with the blocking the microphones. The field of view is a little bit wider, so for this use, which is one of my main uses for me, the Action 2, I like it a bit better than the Osmo Action. And of course, there's the horizon balancing in 4K. That's actually the very first video I made when I got this camera, because I was so impressed with the functionality and the fact that I didn't know it existed. But for this, and now I'm shaking quite a bit, but for these vlogging type of videos, that's one of the features that makes this camera an excellent option. In my opinion anyway. And in many videos, especially after the release of the camera, many people talk about the overheating issues. It does get warmer to the touch than the Osmo Action after, I would say, what is a normal use, but I do never record long clips with it. If I do something long, it would be a time lapse, and I assume that it wouldn't overheat. So overheating has not been an issue for me. I'm not saying that it isn't a problem, but for my use case, because I always shoot short clips, it's not an issue. Like even right now in this type of vlogging situation that I could be talking to the camera for a while, I don't, because I'm not that good. So what I do is I make like 20-second to 1.5 minute clips tops, because I need to keep on looking at the notes on my phone. So hopefully I'm making sense. And with my use case, overheating has not been an issue at all with the DJI Action 2. And different people with different use cases will disagree, and rightfully so. And then when it comes to construction quality, I was talking about in the Osmo Action that I like the rackness, that I really trust it. This Action 2 is built very, very nicely. It has a metal body, but the metal body will scratch. So I got this designed by Hayfly. It's a small rig cage for it, that it protects it. One thing I don't like for this particular cage is that the top button, which is the only button that you use, it's a bit difficult to press, so I end up using the side button from the front screen. With that said, the build quality is great, closer to fancy smartphone than racked plasticky Action cam, so that's another difference. And you may have noticed that I'm talking only about the front screen model. That's the one that I do have. Backlight situation. And the reason is that I found a deal for this camera with the front screen that was much cheaper than a discounted camera with the battery module. So I thought that's a good and proper moment to get it. But that's again a construction difference between the Action 2 and the Osmo Action. The Osmo Action has interchangeable batteries which cost like 30 euros or so. With this one, if you want an interchangeable battery, you need an extra module. And that gets more expensive. Also, the main small body is waterproof, does have internal memory. I guess it has a 32GB chip. 10GB are used for the operating system, so you get about 22GB of storage. And then if you want more storage, then you need to use either the battery module or the front screen, like right now, and then put a micro SD card in it. The feature is that the front screen or the battery module have an open USB-C port to charge it, and also the micro SD card is open in a way, is visible, so they are not waterproof. The main camera body is waterproof, but if you want a waterproof solution that can use an SD card, then you need to get the Osmo Action. And one of the things I like the most of this front-facing screen is not just that I can frame myself, it's also bigger than the front screen of the Osmo Action, but this is a fully functioning screen that I can use to operate the camera. It has exactly the same size and exactly the same functionality than the screen on the back of the camera module, and that's something that I miss in the Osmo Action when I'm setting up a shot like this for vlogging type of purposes. I need to switch to the back screen, change the settings, switch back to the front screen so I can see myself, and that's the mild annoyance with the Osmo Action, which I find much better in the Action 2. And for the sake of testing and comparison, I have not been using external audio. It's a bit challenging today because there's quite a bit of wind, so I don't know how the audio will come out, but if you're seeing this video, it's because I decided that it was good enough, and here we are. So if I cannot choose which one is the best, which one I'm keeping, I can tell you, I'm keeping both. Well, I'm holding them really close right now, so which one is better? I can't choose. They are so different. They're even so different to look at. But hopefully I described the differences, why some things of a camera are strengths and weaknesses on the other one, and vice versa. And depending on which of these features and functionalities you prefer, you'll pick one or the other. I'm really curious to know though, do you own the Osmo Action or do you own the Action 2? Do you own them both? What are you using them for? And what are the main shortcomings or the main features that made you choose which one of them? So, if you like the video, please like and subscribe, and we're gonna see you soon for some more content. And yes, I'm hoping to be using this camera's audio now that I'm having it here in the limelight.